Panthers, I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well at home. Today's lesson will also be based on one of the 7 main elements of art. If you watched the other videos, you might know them by now. They are line, color, shape, form, value, space, and texture. And today we are going to focus on texture. In the future, I would love to do a lesson using paint to create texture because there's some fun, different ways to use paint to do that. But for right now, I want to continue using supplies that you most likely already have at home. So today we just need paper and pencil. So when we talk about texture, we're talking about the way something feels. So as an example, a bowling ball is shiny. So if I wanted to make it look shiny, I would smooth it out and add a highlight. If I was drawing fur on a puppy, I would use straight lines and draw them close together so that it looks like soft layers of fur. Do it in different patches. You get the idea. We are going to practice drawing some different types of texture. Here are some examples. Again, I want you to think about how these textures feel. So bubbles, bumpy, waves, scales, swirls. And we also have jagged, stones, woven, scribbles, and chevron. If you want, you can pause and practice some of those. We are going to be drawing a landscape today, and so we're going to practice some textures that you would see in a landscape. So first up is wood that you'd see on a tree. A lot of times wood has little swirls in it and then lines going around it. So we're going to draw a swirl and then draw some lines going around and coming back up. Draw another little tiny loop over here and fill those in, and it kind of looks like wood or the bark of a tree. And next we're going to practice some leaves on a bush or a bushy tree. And so I'm just going to draw little rounded clumps and then draw them spaced out and then fill in the spaces. And we want it to fill in the whole box. So add little loops towards the edges and fill it in. And then next we're going to practice drawing some grass. So it's kind of wild grass because it kind of looks like it's long, a little bit unruly. So we're just going to draw some lines coming up in different directions on different spots. I sped it up so it wouldn't take too long watching me do this. We're just filling it all in with little lines, and I'm drawing upward strokes in all of those lines. And then that kind of looks more like wild grass, so let's draw another one with maybe more manicured grass, maybe grass you'd see in someone's lawn that gets mowed. And I think that a better way to draw that is short lines in rows. And fill that all in. And then the last thing we're going to practice is some clouds. Clouds are puffy. And again, when you're drawing these, think about the texture and the way that they feel. Clouds, I haven't felt a cloud, but they look soft and fluffy from down here. So I'm going to draw little bumps in the clouds. And then to try to make it look softer, I'm going to go in and just kind of shade those bumps a little bit. And then one more, actually, just let's practice drawing another type of leaves on a tree. It's going to be really similar to the first one, except for instead of rounded clumps of leaves, we're going to do pointed leaves. But again, the same style, just do a little clump of points and you'll be able to see once my hand is out of the way. Also, I know I don't hold my pencil correctly. Your teachers probably teach you to hold it a different way, but I've just gotten used to drawing this way. Okay, so draw little pointed leaves and fill it all in. And again, if you want to look at these longer, you can pause the video and practice some more. But we are going to move on to our landscape now. So here's our landscape with our different textures that we've filled in. I want you guys to use a pencil at home so you can erase it if you need to. I'm going to use a Sharpie so that it's just really clear for you to see. So we're going to start with our tree on the left-hand side, and we're going to draw 2 parallel lines going down. And then instead of just cutting off the tree at the bottom, we're going to draw some little roots sticking up, because a lot of times trees have little roots sticking up in the ground. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll add a couple of branches up here. And one going off the page, and coming back down. And I'll just cut off the tops of those branches. We'll fill in the leaves later. And now let's draw our foreground. Landscapes typically have a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. The foreground is the part of the landscape that's closest to your eye. And so our foreground has a tree and land. And next I'm going to draw a river. So I'm just going to draw a straight line. And that is going to be our middle ground in our landscape. And then I'm going to draw a couple of rolling hills. It's just a curved line going down from the right and a curved line going up. And now we're going to draw our fluffy clouds. I'm just going to do some curves and then start behind that curve to make the next curve. Again, on the top, the same thing, start behind there. And I'm going to draw a little circle for our sun. And I'm going to fill in some of those spots in the clouds. And then we're going to start filling in each of these sections with textures. So let's start at the bottom. I'm going to do a little jagged texture pattern. It was one of the things that I showed you earlier in one of those pattern boxes. I kind of like it. It's kind of fun. Looks like some grass that you'd see out on a field. And I'm not worrying too much about the pattern. It's just some of the bumps are short and some are taller. And I sped up the video so it's not taking forever for you guys to watch it. But when you're drawing at home, please take your time and fill it all in. And then once I get this filled in, I'm going to start on the tree. So first I'm going to make a little swirl over here. And I'll bring that last part of the swirl and drag that line down. And I'll do a smaller swirl and maybe do a couple of lines going around and coming back up. And then now I'm just going to draw lines going around those swirls and just fill it in. And if you think about how this texture would feel, it probably looks a little bumpy. Maybe like if you were to run your hands over that tree bark, it would be bumpy. So I fill that in. And now I'm going to fill in some bushy leaves on the trees. So I'm just going to do rounded curves and fill them in random places. And then kind of like a puzzle, how you like to do the outside first of a puzzle before you fill it in. Add some little bunches on the outside of the tree line. And then just fill it in all over. It's okay if some bumps have like 3 curves and others have 2. Just do kind of random marks and fill it in. And I'll speed it up a bit so it doesn't take forever. And when you get towards the edge of the paper, make sure you make it look like it's going to keep going. So maybe draw some lines coming from the side. And now we'll do the water. I decided to go for a little swirly pattern for the water. Because water swirls sometimes. And when you're filling it in, make sure it goes all the way to the edge so you don't just have swirls in the very center, but then nothing close to the edges. So maybe draw some like half swirls so it looks like it's going behind those lines. And then just fill it in. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The good thing about art is things don't have to be perfect. Just try new things. So now we're going to do our background. And the first rolling hill, I'm going to draw some diagonal lines, some parallel diagonal lines. And just fill that all in. And then when I draw the lines on the last hill, they're going to be closer together than the lines on this hill, because the farther away something is, the smaller it looks, and the closer it is to you, the bigger it looks. So on the last hill, we're going to make the lines going the opposite direction and even closer together. And again, I sped up the video so it doesn't take forever, but take your time when you're drawing these lines. I have a little bump there. And now we're going to do the clouds. Thought it'd be kind of fun just to use the lines that we already have sticking up on these bumps in the clouds and add some curved lines, make some curved lines with it. I feel like it kind of makes it look like foam, kind of swirly clouds. And you don't have to use the same textures as me. You can just use your own textures, but if you want to follow along, you can do that. Okay. Fill in that line. And then last thing, I'm just going to put a little thing around my sun, a little halo around the sun. And that is it. So you guys can leave it as is or color it in. Alright guys, that's it for today. If you want to practice drawing textures some more, you could look around your home and try drawing different materials that you see in your home, like the carpet, the fabric on a couch, wood grain in a table, and see if you can draw those textures. Alright, I'll see you next time.